scene on page 1. You know the one? The big battle scene. That took me about 5 days. But normally it's about 2 or 3, 4.
Die ene pagina die hij bedoelt, die hangt dus bij ons in de stand. Dat is die tekening van het grote gevecht. Op die blauwe planeet, op die ijsplaneet. En dat komt dus uit het verhaal van Daan te vertellen. Een vraag voor Don Lawrence. Ja.
Wanneer eindigt de muziek van vandaag? When does the concert vandaag end? How many albums will it take?
Well, it's we're happy with it. We'll go on as long as we can.
Because I heard people say, when does it stop? I don't. Well, it doesn't please him anymore.
It doesn't. You can't please all the people all the time.
Yeah, that's.
I learned that a long time ago.
Een vraag.
Of die opvolger. Wat gaat de opvolger nou doen? Waar jij het zei zo.
Liam, will you come forward, please? Liam Sharp, de assistent van Don Lawrence. What is your work in the studio at this moment? What are you doing? Yes, as an assistant of Don Lawrence. What are your activities?
Oh, he's just had me doing the old scripts, my version of old scripts. But the idea is now that I'll draw an old album right from the beginning to the end.
Zijn werk op dit moment is een oud script dat Don Lawrence al getekend heeft, opnieuw hertekenen. Dus hij hertekent zeg maar een album 11 of album 12. Dat is Liam bezig de hertekening. In Don's stijl dan. Zodat hij, wanneer hij dat aan het hertekenen is, toch dat gevoel, de stijl van Don Lawrence te pakken krijgt. Het is hetzelfde als je heel vaak een handtekening overtrekt, dan kan je op een gegeven moment die handtekening gewoon zonder voorbeeld zetten. En dat is hij op dit moment aan het doen. Probeer die stijl vast te krijgen. En op dit moment, wat ik van hem gehoord heb, is dat hij een paar zwarte lijnen op pagina's heeft gezet. Wat ook al wat werk heeft.
But when does the real work start for him? When will he be shown to his public?
I won't really be painting backgrounds for another 6 months at least, I would have thought. They want me to develop my own style as well, separate, but that's, after 4 o'clock or something. I've got to do that in my own time. It won't be for a while, yeah. I've drawn the lines around a few of the frames and things like that, but nothing really, yeah.
Nog een vraag.
Zit het nou met de film? Is het wel aan de gang?
What about the storm film?
Yeah, no, it's a no-no. I'm sad to say. Yeah. I phoned Canon Films up and they were very polite. They said, but it's on hold, I think is the American expression, which means that they have no plans in the near future. So I reckon that's a no-no. Sad.
Nog een vraag.
Als er getekend wordt het ook uitgegeven?
Is the album you're making painting of the albums of Don? Will it be printed?
Yes, the idea is that over the period of time I'll be able to see the difference between the first page and the last page. As it should look exactly like the one that he's done before. So there's really no point actually.
De opzet is dus dat alles wat hij maakt, dat die tekeningen precies hetzelfde zijn. Dus ga je dat publiceren, ja, dan zie je eigenlijk gewoon dezelfde tekeningen. Voor hem is het gewoon die training en dat hij de verschillen ziet tussen de eerste pagina van het album dat hij gemaakt heeft en wanneer hij eindelijk dat hele pagina doorworsteld heeft, wanneer hij aan de laatste pagina begint, kijken hoe dicht hij bij het ontstel is gekomen. Maar het is gewoon dupliceren van het album en echte verschillen mogen er niet te zien zijn.
Ja, maar dat is in het begin natuurlijk wel. Ja, het eerste album dat hij natekent is natuurlijk een groot verschil met het werk van Don Lawrence.
In the beginning, when you work at an album of Don, there must be differences between your work and the work Don has made.
Perhaps
There mustn't be.
to publish
There must be no difference. I mean, it's got to be so that it's not recognisable who's done what. Otherwise, there's no point displaying.
But this isn't possible. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
we cannot visualise the same way. No two people can.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's got to reach a standard which I would be pleased to sign my name to. I haven't sold it before.
Nog een vraag?
Mr. Lawrence, I can remember you said last year, artistically, the album numbers 7 and 8 were the best. Why don't you go back to the same old style?
You can't go back. You have to go on.
You are developing your own style.
That's right. Yes.
In due course.
Yeah. I've no way of knowing what I'm going to be doing in a year's time. I have no direction. All I do is, each time you have a frame, you do it in the way you think is right for that frame. And as you look at it, look back on it in retrospect and say, by God, I've changed a bit in that way or this way. But it's nothing conscious that you do, it's something subconscious, and you have no control over it at all.
So it's no matter of time, because
No.
I always thought you had a lack of time.
Oh, I always have a
Deadline.
Yeah, but I mean, doing 2 pages of full colour a week is tough going. Yeah, yeah.
You would like to do 1 page a week. But
Yeah,
it
or
couldn't
1
be
month,
possible.
you know. I mean, no, you've got to keep a sort of rhythm about it when you get started. And no, time is a bloody nuisance actually. Having to take too long or too short a time. As I said earlier to an earlier question, it depends on each frame how much time.
We just have to be patient.
That's right. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to be doing in a year. But it's exciting, finding out.
Inventing new colors.
Yeah, that's right. And you also discover new colours that you want to use. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait.
So will I.
Why is he using more black lines in his work than in his earlier work? In his earlier work, there are many black lines around the faces, or black lines.
Yeah.
But there was in the beginning not so much. When the chin, no black line between the chin and the neck. It was a kind of change of colors from more light rose pink to dark pink, and then go with light pink again. So the lines were made out of colors and not by black lines. Why has that changed? It makes your comic less photographical.
There's a couple of answers. That, for example, in the last pages that I've been in EPO, I don't know whether you've seen them, they have very black lines, right, and very thick black lines.
You have to see, don't give the story the rights of 3D.
Yeah.
So a Dutch writer may not write 3D. So a Dutch drawer may not draw 3D. That's the whole point. Maybe when IPC get some profit of the series, they will do that. But Oberon doesn't want that.
Yeah.
Because that's of Oberon and not of IPC.
Ms. Lawrence, what do you think of this attitude of IPC? Only thinking of commercial interest.
Well, there's a sort of rationale about it. I mean, they're behaving in a logical way. They just want to make money. They're not interested in aesthetics or anything like that, or why you do it, or how long it takes you. They just want money. And it's very much the attitude of IPC. What I think about it is another matter. I can't repeat it.
So, but you don't work anymore for IPC, so you can speak out loud.
Yeah, I'm still living in England. You see.
That's a problem.
Dat is ook nog een vraag. De vinger. Ja? Can you tell a little bit about your way of working, about drawing?
Sure. I'll try to. It's extremely difficult to explain. It's much easier to show. But basically, I start all the page up. Because Martin tends to give me the layout, how big the boxes are, frames. I then pencil those in. I then if I've got the script from Martin, which tends to be over the telephone, I'm working on it, I've got the phone in one hand, and I'm drawing with the other hand, you see. And I have to fill in the frames as I work. I then got that rough sheet, which I'm using as a basis for script. I'm doing him a slight misjustice. It's just this story, we've had a problem about scripts. Well, not just the story. But once I've got that, I draw up the page, then in pencil, I pencil it in. Depending on what is included in the frame, I basically do Indian ink round the line. Hence your remark. This is a way of, then you can rub out without losing the drawing, or using ivory black gouache to outline. Then build up. It's rather like sort of colouring, by numbers. You put the colours in flat. Then you say, now I've got to work it up here or there. That is basically the process. It's very simplistically put. But I'd like sometime maybe draw something up in front of you all, so you probably see how I did it. But we could arrange it maybe sometime. Yeah. Probably it's a long process, you see, that's the problem.
I do some work and airworks.
Ah, yeah.
And then I like to see how you work.
I like to see how you work. I'm terrified of that machine.
I like it.
Oh, it's great. But it's got to be used with discretion. So many people overdo the airbrush work. I think somebody like Chris Foss had wonderful use of airbrush. Yeah, it's a great tool. But you have to mask it all, don't you? Yeah. That's so tedious. You've got to.
It's the most work. People think that it's weighing is the hardest work. It's the mask that is the hardest work.
Yeah, I bet. That's what always put me off it. I'm basically lazy.
Oh, you work hard.
Oh yeah, not at that.
I don't think
No,
the dates a week.
I find that sort of thing almost unbearably boring to cut it out, to work it out. It's agony to me.
It's exciting.
Do you enjoy it, or do you?
Yeah, pretty much.
What, the cutting out as well?
Yeah, that's the best work because it is.
We'll work with you later.
Nog een vraag?
Do you sometimes think at the end of the week, and then when you see work, that you say, it's not like I wanted to do it, and it's very, very different from the script.
But it's not necessarily different from the script, but I certainly sometimes I look at some pages and I think, Jesus, they're terrible pages. I feel really ashamed of them. This happens quite a lot. Other times, occasionally, I'll say, well, that's not too bad. Or even I have been known to say, well, that's pretty quite good. But on the whole, I tend not to like my work very much. I'm very critical, extremely critical, which is a problem in a way.
I don't know if I can answer this, but how do you come to find more and more beautiful women in stories?
I thought that might come. I like beautiful women, It's simple as fun.
En kan het zijn dat Roert een beetje verliefd is op Storm, want als moeder qua duivel zit en Marilyn Monroe laat verschijnen, moest ze direct ophouden.
Will you keep it a secret? Yes.
Het is dus inderdaad verliefd op Storm. Als je het maar geheim. Nog vragen?
Tom, when you are phoning with Martin and he tells you what the storm has to do, and you think by yourself, do not agree. Do you tell him that, or do you
Yes, I do.
decide?
No, I think about it first. A couple of weeks back, he put something in, and I couldn't. It didn't fit in somehow with what I'm. You know the characters and you know what the situation is. And if he puts in something like can't make it look what's the word? Convincing. Yeah, if you can't make it look convincing, then I phone him back and say, no, I can't in any way make that work. let's rethink it. Or I put forward a counter proposition saying, wouldn't it be better if we did that? And Martin's very fair, and he said, yeah, that sounds good. Something like that. So we do adapt a bit.
Does Don already know the whole story in the beginning, or is it page after page?
Page after page. It's as simple as that. I have no clue what's going to happen the next week. Now this has a lot of problems. You see? Because suddenly he'll say this character who you drew in the background, he suddenly said, well, we're going to use that character. And you haven't drawn him very well, and you're stuck with a character you haven't really bothered with. If you know that this is an important character, you can go to town and work him out and do him in sort of side view, three-quarter face, so you work out what he looks like. Because sometimes you're stuck with, on several occasions I've been stuck with characters I really didn't like at all. And I've had to use them all through a story.
Do you like it? Well, if you don't know the whole story, but when does it happen that you don't like the story at all, the whole story, the idea, so the theme of
Yes.
the story? Does it happen that you don't like it?
Yes. You're going to ask me which one?
No.
Good lad.
I'm not going to be personal.
No, obviously I have preferences for one story over another. I mean, some stories I think are really terrific. Mainly because the visuals are good. I'm always biased. I mean, Martin's always in favour of the literary side of it. I'm much more involved in the visuals.
But Martin is a drawer as well, so...
I know.
He must see it also.
Yeah, but he doesn't draw in my style in any way like my style.
Well, it would be a good idea to change, no?
Well, I did Agent 327.
Yeah, well, I see. Wow.
Well, I did FC Canuda once, didn't I? FC Canuda. Did you ever see that one? And he did Storm. That was terrific.
Rob is goed verstaan. Die oude trivium, ik vind dat die beter betekent is dan nieuw. De gezichten zijn allemaal zo hoekig.
In de storm bedoel je?
Nee, in trivium.
In trivium, van de nieuwe tekenaar?
Hoe vindt hij het?
Van de nieuwe reeks, na Don Lawrence. How do you think about the drawers who made Triggy after you stopped with Triggy? So Gary Moot and all
They are, in their own rights, several of them, very good artists. But to take over somebody else's script, somebody else's characters, is virtually an impossible thing to do. And they didn't stand a chance, really. It's very difficult for them. And I quite honestly, I don't like what they do. But I'm prejudiced because my images of who those people are have been screwed up, as far as I'm concerned, by these other people. But it's not their fault, because really they are very good artists in their own right.
Well, I had a question about those artists. Have you seen in England work of Gary Wood and Alfred Frey next to the Triangle? Because
Jerry Wood? No.
So
I have seen some of his other work, and also Oliver Frey. If I remember, he was the first one to take over. He did some excellent illustrations. He really was very good. But no, I didn't like what he did to the Dragon Empire. But in a way, it's your baby when you created it from start. You've got a sort of love affair with the thing, and then somebody comes along and screws it up. That's prejudice.
What do you think is your best drawing?
The next one. Now, this one, I think. I'm apart from one or two pages which are disastrously bad. On the whole, this one, I think. Do you know which ones I think are really terrible? 7 and 8, page 7 and 8. They are terrible. Terrible pages.
I agree.
Shut up. They're awful.
Would you be prepared to redraw something of the Bavel without any words?
I couldn't carry on that now because my style has changed so much that I couldn't pick it up again. I can look at it now and I can see what's in it, but I wouldn't paint like that anymore. Therefore, I can't carry on. It's dead now.
But would you be prepared to draw some pages for a portfolio? How's that in English?
Yeah.
just with, yes, how shall I put it?
So that you can see the difference between them.
No, just a few pages without any words.
Is the ball door, you know the story, is that finished now?
No.
After the pages, so it continues.
No, I mean, it was a complete story, but after the sixth part, I originally did it for Metalurg, but, well, I wanted to get the Metalurg, and I never actually got that, because I never finished it. But the first 4 pages were okay for what they were. Well, I had a real problem with the last 2 pages, and at that stage I gave up and had to go back to doing, or trying to go to or whatever I was doing at that time. And I could never pick it up again. Once you've lost that rhythm to sounds, you've got extremely difficult to pick it up again.
Ik wil even uitleggen waar het ging over de bal door. Dat is een stripje van 4 pagina's. Het is ongeveer hetzelfde als het verhaaltje uit de SF, het verschrikkelijke water. Dat is nooit afgemaakt. En dat is ook aan het geval met de bal door. Maar Don gaat geen werk afmaken waar hij 10 jaar geleden mee begonnen is, zeg maar. Omdat de stijl zo veranderd is dat het niet op elkaar lijkt. En dat je toch ziet dat het niet eigenlijk hetzelfde verhaal is.
Publishing, I'm in trouble because they start creeping up on me. Now I'm doing page 27, 28 at the moment. Now they're getting nearer and nearer to me.
It's 2.5 months.
Oh, that's not long. You see, I've got to do what, 44, 46 pages, and I'm taking 10 days over 2 pages. And I haven't quite worked that one out yet. I daren't work it out, but there must be about page 44. The 2 of us are going to be deadline for me finishing the work. It's going to be a problem.
Waar is het? Ja?
For the attitude, the storm and rotor, the red hat, yes. How do you see that? Do you set lime special stand, or do you get a book?
Sorry,
Nog een keertje in het Nederlands.
Houding die storm en rotor heeft.
Ja?
Hoe maak je die? Kijk je op zo die trein? Of is dit vanuit de
The figures of Redder and Storm, the positions of the bodies. Do you get it out of an album, or do you make it up in your mind?
I'll make it up in my mind, always, yes. Now, you can't quote back, or you can't... If you start using photographs, you're trapped. Because once you use one photograph, it looks terrific when you finish it. Then you've got the rest of the page, and it's going to look awful compared to that one frame, which looks really dynamic. So you've got to be consistent. Use your imagination every time, or use photographs every time, like many artists do. And they have great advantages that way.
Are you going to write another story? The story you write was quite good. I think it was very good too.
John?
Album 9, you've written it by yourself.
Yeah.
Are you planning another album?
Well, people keep pushing me off. They keep saying, you know, I didn't like that story very much. And they don't think I don't think I'm a very good writer.
I like the story.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, good for you. Thank you.
But you had plans to write some strips for yourself.
Yeah.
Like the Titanic you did Pyro.
Yes, yeah. Yes, I enjoy it, but I'm never quite sure whether it's any good. And we are basically very insecure creatures, you see, and we're never very sure what we do is good. Well, hang on, no, that's not true. Sometimes we know what we're doing is okay, but with writing I'm extremely insecure. I'm never sure whether what I do is valid or not. Because sometimes it becomes very easy to write. And I think it should be harder. To be interesting anyway.
It was one of the best storm stories. I thought.
Did you? How many other people here think that was a good story? Put your hands up. Yeah, you mustn't be nice, be honest. Be brutally honest. What do you say, quarter? Third? No, an eighth. Okay. Okay, it wasn't that good then.
it isn't possible for somebody to take on somebody's time. I know you wanted to teach him.
You said that it's impossible.
Because basically, he has a very similar style to myself to start with. He sees things very similarly to myself, but he'll never be like me. No, he'll always be Liam.
So that doesn't make a kind of model sheet for him. You know, like in animation films, model sheet. Weet je wat ik bedoel? Weet je dat die bol, dat je bol niet alles
Ja.
hebt staan, met de gasten aan de hand?
Nee, hij heeft heel een foto laten zien. Liam heeft wat werk van hem bij op een foto. Donnie heeft de schets gemaakt. En Liam heeft aan de hand daarvan de lijnen gemaakt en de
Dan zie je voor
maar het idee wat nu is dat Liam met achtergronden begint van de strips. Waar Don daar dan figuren in gaat tekenen. Maar zoals Liam al gezegd heeft, pas over een half jaar zal zoiets gaan gebeuren. Het is praat over een jaar verder.
Maar is het geen idee dat van die model sheet, dat ze met tekenfilms kunnen ze ook, ja, met verschillende tekenaars. Ja, hetzelfde met de
Ja, maar Liam moet het straks toch zelf doen.
Ja,
het is gewoon de manier waarop je het doet. Don kiest gewoon voor de manier van, nou, teken gewoon wat ik getekend heb, dan krijg je het wel te pakken.
Ja, ze willen toch zo graag dat hij het precies doet.
Ja, het is gewoon kijken wat het beste.
Ja, nou, ja, dat vele mensen die daar dan bij.
Now about another person. When I was with you a few months ago, you talked about a new assistant, the second one, next to Storm, next to Liam.
No, he wasn't. He was an assistant. He's an English artist who is working and is published. Who wanted to come and study with me, not as my assistant, but wanted to study with me so I could help him. Yeah, that wasn't an assistant. If I said that, that was a mistake.
Right, I thought.
Yeah. His name is Kevin Hopper.
Oh.
Yeah.
In the future.
Maybe. But he's got a long way to go yet.
And there are a few artists who have a song by their figures. So, the song.
Yeah.
Will Storm also have a song in the future?
Has a song of his own, music.
A song?
Yes, like Gil's Ghost, he has got his own song.
Is he? Or write it. Write it.
Wat gaat doen als
Zeg je?
als je ophoudt met Storm?
When you finish Storm, have you got plans for after Storm?
Well, I thought I am getting pretty old now, you see, and there is a point that I'm going to have to give up. What I would like to be is a marine painter. I'd love to paint the sea. That's what I'd like to do. And when I retire, I shall sit by the seaside and paint it.
I would love to buy a picture of that. Painting.
I'll sell you one.
For a nice price.
Question for Lee. If you're gonna draw Storm, which style do you gonna use? The old or the new style?
They don't actually want me to carry on Storm when he finishes. The idea is that while he's doing Storm, I'm the assistant. But in the meantime, I'll be developing a style of my own. I'll be learning a lot of him. And hopefully in a few years' time, I will be good enough for them to take me on to do a different strip. Entirely different. The Storm is his baby, as he says. I can't really... Storm is Don Lawrence. And that's you think of Storm, you think of Don Lawrence. And I can't take that place. I can't.
You wouldn't be a good mother.
If I did do it, I would do it as close to his style as I could. You can't carry on doing it the same style. You're changing all the time. You learn new things. You learn new colours.